go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Erica Earlbeck at Texas Tech University to go ahead and get started about writing a textbook.
All righty. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining. Let me get my, there we go. Okay. There's yes, books, blunders, bad ideas and bliss. So that was kind of my year year and a half that I spent writing a book. And that's pretty much, that picture on the screen is pretty much what I look like for months on end, is that right there, unless I had a Zoom call. So I'm Erica Earlbeck. I am a professor in agricultural communications at Texas Tech. And yes, I wrote a textbook. So I'm going to share with you today what that process was like, and kind of go through some of the small nitty gritties, and then open it up for any questions that you all might have. So these are kind of the big points that I was going to walk through today. So the first question that you need to ask yourself: why write a book? And there are academic departments on our campus. There are probably some on your campus as well that require a book to get tenure, require a book to get promoted. Fortunately, ours is not like that, because as an assistant professor, I had nothing that I wanted to write a book about. And I'd always wanted to write a book, but it was kind of more like a novel was what I wanted to write. But like some big reasons that you may want to write a book is that the information that's available currently is outdated. There's a hole in the information in the market. You have specialized information. So when I was toying with the idea of doing this book, I set up a Zoom call with Timothy Coombs, who's one of the more prolific writers in risk and crisis communications. And he said, where this field of study is going is more specialized. So he said there's people doing specialized sports crisis communications, medical crisis communications. And he was like, and agricultural crisis communications is definitely a place that we need to go. If you feel ready to write a book, then it's probably time for you to move on that. Also, just kind of in the field of novel writing, if you have a story in your head, go ahead and get that out on paper. And then, of course, if you have a need for one of your classes, that would be a good reason to write a book. But I will say this several times: don't force a book if you don't have a book in you to write. So before I started writing, I checked around to make sure that there wasn't something already available. So those Amazon library, Google searches to see what's available in the ag field did not come up with anything. So I thought, okay, this might be the place to go. So, all right. I want to write a book. Now what? There's nothing more terrifying nor productivity killing than a blank Word document. So just getting started it was one of the top 5 hardest things to do. One of the things that helps, though, is by having great notes available. In those times that I just felt very stumped, that was when I took it upon myself to go find more information. So go find another book in the library, do some more searches of the literature that's available. A lot of people like to do mind maps. I did what was really more of a sticky note diagram, where I had little clusters of sticky notes just right on my wall right over here. I had just different groupings of topic areas or quotes or things like that, where I would group them together. And then I felt like I could go into Word and start working on it. Something else that helped me was I'm a member of the Texas Tech faculty writing program. And we meet once a week for 3 hours. And that is where I was able to finish writing. I was able to start writing because I got a faculty development leave or sabbatical from Texas Tech. And so I set out in the fall of 2021 to write my book. Now on that, so I did my application for my leave, and my goal was that I would write a book. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, probably still don't, but setting goals can be very frustrating. And, we're told all the time, set a SMART goal. It needs to be time sensitive, relevant, and all these things measurable. And so I'd set a goal like that. And I was so misinformed on writing that goal out, like to finish a book in a semester. Come on. So yeah, I did not accomplish the goal. And all it did was make me feel like a failure. So goals can be revised. It's good to, set out to say, yes, I'm going to write a book, but, just make sure that you are setting something that is doable. Because I kind of looked at it like, oh, this will be like my dissertation. I got that done over the course of the summer. So no big deal. No. So I think probably a better thing to do is just to say, I want to write a book and I would like to have it done by the end of the semester. But if I don't, I would at least like to have the bones in place for the book, and then I can add on to it. And that's really what happened. I had a structure there, but it was by no means finished in January of 2022. So that's where those writing groups came in, and I was able to finish the book in 3-hour increments once a week. And that's how I got it done. So getting organized, this is a screenshot of my file structure right here. And it looks like a mess, but I've saved everything that I have. I've saved my notes. Something that I really recommend is creating a file. And I have one called trimmings. And that way, when you have worked for hours on 3 paragraphs and then it's just not working anywhere, you can just cut those and paste them into your trimmings file. And then that way you don't lose something that you're emotionally attached to. And you tell yourself you'll use it some other place. And the only time I've opened my trimmings file is to put more trimmings in there, but I have it just in case I need it. Keep track of your references. This goes for anything you write, journal articles, anything, but there's always that one reference that you just can't find. And then a lot of people use a program called Scrivener, and it's come highly recommended to me by other people who have written textbooks, novels, things like that. But I don't know. I looked into it. I asked some people that are in the writing group with me at Tech what they use to write their books, and all of them just said Word. So, rather than spending more money, which I've spent quite a bit of my own money to write a book, I just chose to not invest the money in Scrivener. Another place that was really helpful to me was the university's legal department. And I had them create a form for me. They probably already had it existing, but create a form for me with anybody that I interviewed, any photos, images that I used. I sent them this form and had them sign off on it. The publishing company said, just as long as you have an email, that's legal. But I had kind of a menu like, yes, you may directly quote me and attribute me and use my company name, all the way down to please don't use my interview. So I had all the things in there. And so if somebody asked to not be attributed, I just gave them a generic, like agricultural communicator is all I had on there. The finding a publisher piece. And this may have been one of the more difficult things to do in this journey. But finding a publisher is kind of like dating, and this is a screenshot of dating apps. But it was kind of one of those things where you just kind of put yourself out there and give somebody a like or something like that, and hope that they'll like you back. But the first thing that I did was look to see in other risk and crisis books who's publishing, and so I contacted those publishers. Pretty well got ghosted most of the time. But the thing that was most effective was I posted a screenshot, on an earlier slide of my folders. And I said, hey, I just finished writing a textbook. Now I need to find a publisher. Does anybody know anybody? And LinkedIn for the win, because somebody connected me through LinkedIn with a publishing company. And they were nice enough to do a phone call with me. But this particular publishing company did not publish in higher ed. But she was like, I'll tell you what, I'll run you a list of the publishers that publish in higher ed in agriculture and forestry. And so I had a list of 50 publishers, and I just started making contact with them. And some publishers just want title, brief synopsis. Others want a title, a brief synopsis, an extended synopsis, a list of chapters, a description of each chapter. And so, some are pretty intense. And there were several that I did that were pretty intense that I never ever heard from again. So yeah, most will ignore you. But I found one that fit and worked for me, and it's called Xanadu Publishing. And yeah, it's just like the Olivia Newton-John song, but spelled differently. So they're a mid-sized publisher out of Detroit. They publish K through 12 and higher ed. They responded to me within 24 hours and was like, sure, we're interested. Let's have a Zoom call. And so before I ever had to write them my short synopsis, long synopsis, or anything like that, we did a Zoom call. And so that felt like a pretty low investment of my time. But the thing that I liked about them the most, other than we just seemed to click and get along really well, was I keep the rights to my book. And that was really, really important to me. I did not want to sell the contents of my book to anybody. Another thing that some other publishers were telling me, like, well, for a book that length, we can only do 12 images in it. I'm like, what? Oh, whatever. And some books, like, they wanted me to add another 100 pages. And I'm like, I don't know what else to say. So this was why I felt like I got along well with Xanadu. There are some people that will tell you that you need to have a publisher before you ever start writing. Some publishers will say, well, we need to see the book first. So, it's whatever. Because I asked Xanadu about that later. I'm like, should I have just talked to y'all before I started writing? They're like, no, it doesn't matter. We'll entertain a query from somebody who has not started writing anything, and we'll entertain something that's complete. So yeah, we talked back and forth, and then eventually they're like, okay, we need to see the full manuscript. But I needed to feel like I trusted the publishing company before I sent them my manuscript. So that took several months before I sent them the complete copy. They'll provide a projected price and then a contract, and then you go into the editing cycle. And yeah, we went through four rounds of edits before it was ready to go. So if you do ever go into this, trust the editing process and know that it is going to kill your ego and you're going to feel like a massive failure, but you have somebody edit your book for a reason. And yeah, not only did they catch typos, but they made the book better. And there were many times that I had to step away from it and just be like, I need a minute, because I thought what I wrote was really good. And according to my editor, he says it's terrible. So, and the guy had never met me, so it wasn't personal. He truly was trying to make my book better. And it just so happened that the editor that they found for me was in 4-H when he was a kid. So he kind of understood sort of what it was that I was talking about. So I appreciated that as well. So now that we have a finished product, just some words that I would like to provide for everybody is give yourself grace. If you want to write a book, give yourself plenty of time and give yourself some forgiveness for knowing that it's not going to be perfect. And I will ask for your forgiveness as well, because I know there are typos in there. There have to be, because even in the last round of edits, I was finding mistakes. So please forgive me. It's a long document, and if you write something that long, you will probably have mistakes too. Know that your book may grow and change. I went into this process thinking I was going to write the book one way, and then I completely changed course. And so and that happens. And I think that's probably a healthy process. Tell yourself that you'll write a second edition. I may not write a second edition. I'm planning to, but tell yourself you'll write a second edition. And that was one thing that Xanadu told me. We got to a point where they're like, Erica, let it go. The book is good enough as it is, and you'll do a second edition. So stop picking at it and let's publish. And that was kind of what I needed to hear. And then, just because I'm pretty transparent with everything, I make $5 per copy sold. So it's not a lot. I've got some of my own personal money invested into this book, and I'm never going to make it back. And that's okay, because this is just something that I wanted to do. And it was just a sense of personal accomplishment, and I felt ready to do it. So yeah, I am not getting rich doing this at all. I'm probably losing money doing this, but that's okay. And just know that writing a book is not for everybody. You don't have to do it, but I absolutely loved it. I want to do more books. I have a novel that I've written that's just sitting in my laptop, gathering dust or whatever it is when a book sits in your laptop. But other textbooks and things like that, I've got a couple others in my head mulling around that I'd love to do, but I don't know that I can qualify for a sabbatical for another 4 years or so. So we'll see if anything like that happens. And with that, I'll take any questions that y'all have. Here it is. Yay. And I'll drop a link in the chat if you're interested in ordering it. And please don't feel like you have to, but I'll provide that in the chat here. So, okay, what questions can I answer?
Hey, Erica, it's Courtney. Awesome job. I mean, I was there with you, but I like hearing your perspective on it all. My question is, do you think you could have gotten started on it without the sabbatical?
Probably. Yeah, I probably could have. The sabbatical just gave me the motivation that I needed to get going. It was kind of like the shove, because it was like, well, the university has invested in me to do this, so now I have to do it. Whereas if I wouldn't have, it would have taken, I mean, we'd still be waiting on me to finish the first 3 units. So yeah, good question though.
Great job, Erica. I loved hearing about your process. And I also love the visible change from your picture of focus, maybe a little angry and upset, to the end when you were happy that you were finally done. So I suspect you're feeling some relief now. Does this publisher help you kind of market the book, or what are the next steps? Do you have classes that have adopted it and those kinds of things?
Yes. So yeah, and they're very good about it. So there's a salesperson that I work with, and his job, he has a regional territory. So his job is to get into college bookstores I know Texas is in his territory. I don't know where else. He kind of has like the middle section of the country. And so, yeah, his job is to visit with people. So if you all have contacted them, his name is Ben Steven. And yeah, so he will work with anybody if they're wanting to adopt that for their classroom. Also, they set up an Amazon page. The Amazon page says that the book is still it's still not available, but the page is there. So you can kind of pre-order it, but you can order it straight through the publishing company. And that's the link that I've shared right there, rather than going through Amazon. So yeah, so those are 2 things that they've done. They've also, they're like looking and plugging me into different opportunities. So I'm doing another webinar with them in a few weeks through a book of, there's like the American Association of Textbook Authors or something like that. There's a club for everything. So I'm going to do that. And yeah, so they've been really great, and they're game for anything. So, like if I have an idea, they'll help me get it done. If they have an idea, I'm pretty willing to help them. So yeah, they're really good about helping me move the book.
Great, thanks. That was great to hear. I assume we might hear you on the conference circuit this next year also.
I am available if needed. Yeah. And honestly, I'd be glad to, because there's, I've kind of got it whittled down to like 5 different things that you need to do if you wanted to put together a crisis plan, and you need to have a crisis plan.
Sure. Yeah, that's wonderful. All right. Well, I'll leave it for other people to ask questions, and then we can do updates from universities.
I'll jump in. So, Erica, if you could go back in time and start the process all over again, what's that one piece of advice you'd give all the rest of us?
I think what I would have done differently I probably would have started looking for publishers earlier. Because I think my revision process would have been a little bit easier if I would have understood what they needed and what they were looking for earlier on. So yeah, it was kind of like, I did not even Google search for publishers until I had closed the last document. And then I was like, okay, now I can pivot and look for publishers. And I should have been doing them at the same time. But thanks for asking. I hadn't thought about that. And another thing, just realizing you're not going to get it done in a semester, even if that's all you're working on. Yeah. And also sabbaticals are great, but there's still other stuff you have to deal with on campus. So yeah, like that picture that Jet took, that picture of me that was on the first slide. And like, that was a rare day, because most days I had makeup on, I'd fixed my hair because there was a Zoom call, or I had to go to campus for like a 1 hour meeting, which ended up being 2 hours. So like, you know, some people are like, oh, are you going to go somewhere? And I kind of wish I would have rented that stereotypical cabin in the woods so that I could go work there. But I also have a husband and a child, so they like seeing me. So, so that wasn't possible for me.
All right, last chance for questions. Anybody else?
Erica, I missed the beginning, so I'm going to ask you this. How does your university value a textbook over other publications?
Not much. Not okay. I don't want to say it like that. In our department, it's not as much, because there are other departments on campus that if you want promoted at all, from associate to full, from assistant to associate, you have to write a book. Like, that's just part of their criteria. So with us, like, I was advised, I wasn't ready as an assistant professor or an associate professor to write a book, but even at that point, I was advised against it. They're like, oh, that's one line on your CV. Don't stress yourself out over that. So I didn't. But yeah, that's a good question.
I figured that was the answer, but I also thought it was important for people to hear.
Yeah, because, and I don't know if, and I'll throw that back at you all. Do your institutions require you to write a book or a chapter before you can get promoted?
I will tell you, Virginia Tech is very much pushing the open access textbooks. So those are valued more than a traditional textbook.
Cool. Good.
And encouraging graduate student co-authors.
Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's really good. Good. That gives some good experience and spreads that around.
And they provide funding, so it doesn't come out of your pocket.
Yeah, and like things that I've paid for, like I had a lawyer review my contract, like that came out of, and that was like, I go to Sunday school with this person and dang, she's expensive. So I thought about having her do our will, but I'm like, I don't know now. You charge a lot. So that I paid for. I'll pay for some, like they sent me 15 copies to share, whatever. I'll order more so that I have more on hand. So yeah, just little things like that are coming that I am paying for. Seems like there's something else, another big ticket item that I paid for, but I can't remember what it was now. So.
Well, at least you can count those off on taxes so you don't accidentally pay taxes on that $5 per book that you receive.
Yes, I will owe 50 cents to the federal government.
It might add up. You never know.
It does, yeah.
All right, other questions for Erica before we shift to program updates? Well, if I know Erica, I'm sure she would be happy to answer any additional questions you have via email or other form of communication with her LinkedIn, um, whatever makes the most sense. So now I will just open it up to do kind of around the room if anybody has updates for their program or things that they want to share or additional larger questions. Oh, looks like Courtney has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in my car waiting on my daughter to get out of an event. So I just want everyone to know that Texas Tech is going to be posting a tenure track position soon. Many of you have heard that Dr. Dorford is going to retire in May, and we are working, we'll never replace him, but we are working to hire someone. And the position announcement has not been written yet, but we are working through the process and just want to put that on everyone's radar. Hopefully to have someone on board to start next fall, so in 2024. Thanks.
That will be a big loss for sure. But yeah, I'm sure you'll have all sorts of great people to fill those shoes. We also have 2 positions open here at the University of Florida. They're both instructor level positions. One is at the Plant City campus and one is here in Gainesville. We also had a position just closed. Those 2 are not tenure track, they're instructor lines. We did just have one closed fairly recently for a tenure track line that's focused on artificial intelligence within this realm of ag communications and education and things that we all do. It is, of course, still technically open. So if you have somebody with great ambitions, there may be a chance for that one. If it's for the right person, they might open it up a little more broadly.
We just finished Western Region last week, and I know University of Idaho is really looking, they have an ag comm and an ag ed position open as well. So they would love to have somebody start in January, but they're willing to wait until summer or next fall. So they asked me to spread that around as well.
It's a good time to have a degree in ag communication.
Yes, it is.
Any other updates or things we just want to share? No, we're quiet this Monday afternoon. Right, I'll give you one last call. This is it. Jump in. Right. I think I'm supposed to promote the next one. Tracy Rutherford, I think you're a part of the next one, right? No, it's not you. Okay. Well, hold on. Let me check my notes. I believe the next one is October 23rd, and it is on mentoring, I believe, which is why I thought maybe Tracy was involved as an
I think
active.
it's Jason Ellis and Leslie Edgar,
Okay.
Ricky, and I was just looking at this a little while ago.
I know it's a long list.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, surely, let's see where these are. Schedule, here it is. When Ricky listens to this later, he will be disappointed how long it took me to find this. Jason Ellis, Ricky Doug, Leslie Edgar, Jacqueline Arnell, and Katie Sanders on mentoring junior faculty and concerns of new faculty panel. So I'm sure that will be exciting and interactive. And then the following month, November 27th, we have Laura Fisher and Lacey Roberts Hill talking about creating collaborative multi-state partnerships. So a lot of good things coming up the rest of this semester and beyond. I think that's all of our official duties today. So we did this very efficiently. You get 28 minutes back in your day. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Erica, for sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to seeing y'all next month.
Thanks. Bye.